Hello, everybody. Today is about a little after 6 o'clock Eastern Standard Time here in East Tennessee. It's been a while since I did a video. I was on vacation taking care of some things, but man, a lot has been going on. So, we had these events over the weekends, the No Kings protest, which is the absurdity. It shows you that these people don't understand the constitutional, they don't understand Article 2 power, they don't understand that Congress passed certain immigration laws, signed into law by prior presidents, okay? He's enforcing these laws. He's the only person, and with full power vested in the executive branch, the president, right? Because he's the only one elected. Everybody works below him. It's absurd, to say that they don't have a king. But yet, the Biden administration, executive orders overturning, creating new immigration law, right? Trying to cancel other people's debts like that. That's a constitutional power. That's not a king. I mean, please, exactly. So the whole concept. Meanwhile, they're criticizing also the 250th parade or army celebration from its founding, going back to 1775, the Continental Army, which, ironically, the permit for this parade was put in motion by the Biden administration. But there were a couple things that stuck out over it. I saw one small one down in where I live. I drove down, I saw it Saturday morning, and it was pretty, they was, a bunch of weirdos. They look like crazy, have signs that don't even make sense. It shows you, outside of the ruling class of the Democratic Party and the elites and the true ideologues that you might find in college campuses, professors, things like that, the average person at these things really just doesn't have a clue. They believe everything they're told by the corporate media. They don't understand anything. They don't understand the reality of geopolitics. They don't understand economics. They don't understand how our financial system works. They just don't get it. All right? And I'm going to show you some clips. Some of them are entertaining. So, we're going to jump right in to, I thought this was pretty hilarious. So this was put out of video, but now Cat Turd reposted. It says, this won't happen if you don't protest in the middle of the road. Well, exactly. Okay? But if you notice in the video, the woman, they're approaching his car. Okay? Before he decided to accelerate, their hands, particularly this one woman's hands, was on his car. The driver of the car doesn't know what kind of threat they are, what they intend to do, pull them out of the car like Rodney King style, or any of those things. No. Okay? So he said, I'm in the car, I'm safe right now, I'm going to go. I'll get out of my way. He was stopped, or at least at a very slow speed. So, and these people look shocked. And again, look at these people. They're wearing masks in 85-degree weather. Are they still afraid of COVID, these people? Because we know they're stupid. Or are they just doing it to cover their face and using that evolution of the mask to an advantage to protect their identity because they're up to no good? All right? So that was, here's another one. Boom. Watch as an Antifa militant hits a federal cop in the face with a board. He immediately regrets it, and now he can enjoy federal prison. Now, but also, look at this. This is even offensive. They are protecting federal property because ICE is, again, an agency created by Congress, signed into law by the president. It is enforcing existing immigration law. And that is it. That is not the operations or modus operandi of a king. That is enforcing the law on the land. Ignoring the law, like the Biden administration did, without due process, that is acting more like a king. And even here, they're not. They are clearly defensive. You see how the soldiers, they are backing up. They are backing up. It is the encroachment of the protesters and the rioters that are moving forward. Like they only reacted to this one guy with the sign. So those were just two instances over the weekend to show, what kind of nut jobs we're dealing with here, whatever. So there's another post here I want to scroll up to before I get it. So this is state of Minnesota, county of Hennepin. That's St. Paul and Minneapolis, if you don't know it. real liberal county because of those two cities. And they have arrested the Bolter guy, okay, Vance Luther Bolter, who was the person who shot those two lawmakers and their spouses over the weekend. Okay. Now, there's a connection now to Tim Walz. We believe it actually was the wife. The first of the rumor was it was him. It was her. But here's what's interesting is that they charge people with not premeditated murder. How on earth do you charge someone with murder that is not premeditated if they claim it was by as initiation and manifesto was found in a vehicle? Okay. He was found with no King's material. He's an activist. Clearly it. And he had apparently a list of other Democrats. So people say, like, oh, why would he murder a Democrat? Because this was the one lone Democrat who broke ranks on another bill that offended him. So it's like he was going after Democrat turncoats that he feels were Democrat member turncoats or so forth. But again, why? This is premeditated. He went up to them. He had the gun going. It's either murder or it's not murder. Okay, I thought that was the definition. Manslaughter was not premeditated. All right, so that was something I wanted to comment on that. So let's go to now the big thing going on right now. Okay, is the Israeli Air Force has struck an Iranian oil refinery. Okay, now they struck that because Iran has hit the Haifa refinery, which was so damaged they had to shut it down. That's where they refined, I guess, for gasoline from oil. Here is views of Tel Aviv of the night. Now, as I'm making this video, it's reported that Iranian missiles are flying over. So I'll get to that in a bit. But I just wanted to show you some videos that were out there. All right. So I'm doing this off my Twitter feed, so that's kind of bouncing it around. All right. So I want to go back down. So here's another thing. The Russian embassy in Israel has just called on Russian citizens to leave the country as soon as possible. There's a possibility of crossing the border with Egypt through a border crossing that is open 24 hours a day. Another sign that is escalation is expected. All right. Now, in the last attack in Tel Aviv, it looks like the U.S. Embassy was damaged. Breaking. The U.S. Embassy's Tel Aviv branch has sustained damages from an Iranian ballistic missile attack. All right. So, this is Royce White. Okay. Royce White is commenting. If you don't know Royce White, he was a Republican, big MAGA guy, candidate nominee for the Minnesota U.S. Senate last election. Throw me in an Israeli gulag, call me anti-Semitic, say I hate Jews or whatever else. None of it is true. What is true is anytime I see Sean Hannity on one side of a foreign affairs issue, I almost certainly know it's the wrong side. Hannity is a neocon, Mark Levin, neocon. When we will stop letting these scumbags drag us into forever wars? I heard that Mark Levin say that the fight between good and evil is a forever war. Nice try. When we say forever war, we don't mean it metaphorically. We mean a war that is intentionally kept going with no possible end in sight for the profit. We see the military-industrial complex gearing up to stuff their pockets with our money. People still watch Sean Hannity. Jesus. P.S. Iran sucks. All right. So now I want to end with, on this, is this.
The IC continues to assess that Iran is not building a nuclear weapon, and Supreme Leader Khamenei has not authorized the nuclear weapons program that he suspended in 2003. The IC continues to monitor closely if Tehran decides to reauthorize its nuclear weapons program. In the past year, we've seen an erosion of a decades-long taboo in Iran on discussing nuclear weapons in public, likely emboldening nuclear weapons advocates within Iran's decision-making apparatus. Iran's enriched uranium stockpile is at its highest levels and is unprecedented for a state without nuclear weapons. Iran will likely continue efforts to counter Israel and press for U.S. military withdrawal from the region by aiding, arming, and helping to reconstitute its loose consortium of like-minded terrorists and militant actors, which it refers to as its axis of resistance. Although weakened, this collection of actors still presents a wide range of threats, including to Israel's population, U.S. forces deployed in Iraq and Syria, and to U.S. and international military and commercial shipping and transit.
Okay. Now, after seeing that, all right, here is a tweet by Owen Troyer retweeting Dr. Eli David. Breaking, Syria's president, Ahmed al-Shara, now remember, he's the HTS leader who was Jalani, an ex-ISIS member, al-Qaeda member, who we used to have a $10 million bounty on, announced that his airspace is open for tracking and shooting down Iran's drones and missiles. So Owen tweets out at the repost, now you understand why they fought for that regime change for 10 years, going back to Obama with the in 2011 when they started to go after Assad. Tens of thousands died, but hey, we got our regime change and another war to follow. All right. And then if you don't know, Tucker Carlson's been on it. He was also on War Room for about an hour with chatting with Stephen Bannon. So here is a quote from him. Tucker Carlson on how a war with Iran could be the end of Trump. Quote, I really like Trump. He is a humanitarian at heart, and I say this now because I fear that my country, if it goes to war with Iran, will end up weakened, and will end with the collapse of the American empire. I know that many countries are eagerly awaiting this. The ideal way to achieve this is to smash the ship America on the rocks of Iran, but it will also end the Trump presidency, the end. So, all right, so I threw you a lot right there off my Twitter feed and to going. So you have Tulsi Gabbard, DNI, testifying. And we knew back in January because they publicly released part of the intelligence assessment, annual intelligence assessment, said Iran is not pursuing nuclear weapons. We know that Russia said to deal with their last military treaty with Iran that one of the things was you don't have a nuclear weapon. We know that Tulsi Gabbard now says that they are not going after a nuclear weapon. They've been pursuing enrichment. Now, I've been hearing this 25 years. Iran 6 months away from a nuclear weapon, 6 months away from a nuclear weapon. So now you tie in the Syria thing. Well, what's next to Syria? Syria is next to Israel, right? And it's that route that supplies would come in through under the Assad regime to helping Hamas, Hezbollah in the north, okay, and other groups that, as Tulsi said in that video, is the axis of resistance. What they're referring to is Israel. So we now have the elimination of the Assad regime with the influence of Turkey, okay, up there in the north, okay, where, you know, they have associations with Qatar and the Muslim Brotherhood, okay, and they're pseudo-backing this government. But now they're not giving protection to the Iranians. So they cut that off. Now, along the Israeli border, you have the Alawites and the Druze, and they've being attacked and mercilessly attacked once these jihadis took over the Syrian government, okay, up along near the Israeli border, okay? So you begin to see how these things are kind of linked, okay? Because now we take down, see, it's not about the nuclear weapons, that's the justification. Just like there was weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. It's the regime change so that they can no longer support what they're supporting, which is Israel. And now with Israel trying to push everybody out and doing all the stuff in Palestine, whatever, we can strangle Hamas and those resistance by not preventing Iranian weapons there. And if we constantly take out the Iranian regime, it strengthens Israel, okay? It makes Israel. So it's like, are we doing our foreign policy? Now, Tulsi Gabbard in that testifying to Congress, she mentioned the shipping. She's referring to the Houthis. Right. Iran has been backing the Houthis because the Houthis have been in war, in a civil war, whereas the Saudis have been backing the other side. Okay, and Iran has been helping them. There are also groups like in Iraq and Syria that there are Shia minorities, especially when Saddam Hussein collapsed and we lost control with the rise of ISIS, these groups. Remember, ISIS is a Sunni thing. And that rivalry goes back 1,000 years between Sunni and Shia. Okay, there have been very few things within history where you've seen these two Muslim groups working together. So they're arming those groups. And remember, those groups are in proximity with our bases that are loosely armed and not really well defended, as we know in the Tower 22 and several injuries in Iraq from missile attacks from these Shia groups. So these are the threats that they have. Iran is not a threat to the United States in any way, shape, or form. And every action that Iran has taken, Israel struck first. There is nothing that says Iran cannot have an enrichment. Matter of fact, the IAEA has been in there, and they've said there's no sign of a nuclear weapons thing. An independent country, can do that. Israel doesn't like it. The United States doesn't like it. So Israel is now attacking its leadership. It's attacked its scientists. Iran responds. Iran attacked the Iranian embassy in Syria before Assad fell in Damascus. That's an act of war. Iran retaliated. They attacked the inauguration of their new president, okay, to kill one individual, okay? Imagine someone did that in France or the United States. It would be massive retaliation. They did not retaliate, okay? They have no ties to any terrorist attacks that we know of in Europe, against the United States, nothing, okay? They've been involved with attacking U.S. soldiers in Iraq, but again, we were the occupying forces. There is no threat. We are being coaxed into this possible war for the strategy and the strategic goals of another nation, because they have such a huge lobby, as Colonel McGregor and Mersheimer have explained over and over again. And that is what is going on here. There is no addendum to America First, a carve-out for Ukraine, a carve-out for Israel. There isn't. I don't care how much lobbyists, how much allies, nothing. We don't have an alliance with Israel. I don't know of one military alliance treaty. They're not a member of NATO, okay? And there's no way we should go to war with this. Plus, we've already seen sign. A plane just landed today, apparently delivering some sort of supplies from China, okay? Russia has shown support for Iran, okay, in everything, okay? And with this whole entering this multipolar world with BRICS and everything, this could be another facilitator against the United States on the global scale, okay? I don't think Iran has the capability of destroying Israel either, okay? But if we continue to push it and they feel threatened, they might decide to go get those nuclear weapons before. Iran's a country, I think, of 110 million people. They have intense missile technology. And we're seeing day by day by night, because that's what happens the last few nights, right? Sun comes down and the missiles, they start attacking each other. But you could clearly tell more and more are getting through each night, which means the air defense capabilities are being wiped out, okay? Israel was using drones inside Iran to attack. Again, the drones in the country really tied to that Ukraine attack. What makes you wonder how much SBU and Mossad and MI6 are working together. And if this drones inside of the country thing's been going on, then we need to consider that as a threat here to our own homeland for what might be out there as well, especially since we had the borders open for 4 straight years. So these are the things that we have to consider. But there is these missiles are going to keep going from both sides. They're going to use more airplanes and so forth. But from where I stand, Iran has massive missile capabilities. Okay? And before we came on right now, I was seeing all over X, that the missiles are starting to come. And this might even be a bigger one. The other thing I noticed today was going out, Iran wanted to make a talk. Iran wanted to talk. They were ready for a ceasefire. I heard nothing from that from any other source but outside the West. Okay, RT wasn't reporting it. Sputnik wasn't reporting it. Other Indian news agencies, they just weren't reporting that. As a matter of fact, I was hearing the opposite, that they're preparing for a very large attack tonight with missiles. Now, what they've been doing is that they come in with their crappy first, because a crappy drone or an older missile still can cause damage, so it has to be shot down. So what they do is they take out the missiles, they deplete the air defense systems, and then the good ones start coming in. Okay, but they've hit some key targets there. Okay, so is Israel into Iran. Okay, neither of these countries have the ground forces to occupy the other. From our stand, Iran does not have a large army. It has missiles, small but decent-sized navy, very small air force. Okay, so are they going to march across Iraq? No. Israel going to do the same? No. But they're going for the regime change. Now that they know they're being targeted, they're going to be specifically hiding out and so forth. But there are other people to step in if they're going to do that. Okay, so I don't know where to go. I don't know what we're going to do. Troops on the ground? No. It will always end bad. This doesn't work. And again, there is no evidence. The Iranian Revolution happened in 1979, 46 years ago. And the Iraq-Iran war, which we were involved in, backing Iraq as a counter, and again, then we invaded that country. And how did that turn out? How we with Syria? Okay, we got the Iranian allied regime gone in Assad, which wasn't really crazy allied, nor was it a threat to the United States. Thousands of people are died, but guess what? They now have, it's harder for them to get supplies across. So it's like we're doing the bidding of another country that is no benefit to the United States, okay, to that, all right? Israel feels threatened, have a ball, go for it, do what you have to do, but don't bring the United States into it. If they have enough intelligence that says Iran, they really believe that that is and that's their goal, go do it, but we don't need to do it. We don't need to get involved and get sucked into another war. It's the same warmongers, Graham and Cotton and like the tweet said, Levin and that. Jeez, we've got to go after them. See, the same people told us about Iraq, Syria. It's ridiculous. When are we going to learn? Even Afghanistan didn't work. We can't stop the Houthis. We're going to take on so, and this is serious because then we're not really fulfilling the America First agenda. We're continuing down the same neocon path. It's bad enough we're not cutting spending enough in this big, beautiful bill. Can we get something and stick by our ideology with these leaders? If not, we got to primary them and get them out. So that's the risk we have. There's so many risks with very little reward to get into regime change. And what comes next? Who takes over next? There's not one mullah, it's Khomeini's the head mullah, but there's multiple. All right, and just like they probably split them up and they have a succession plan in place. Is it going to do a revolution? I will tell you right now, a lot of people in Iran hate the regime from what I understand. But I also know that a lot of Iranians at the same time also still don't like Israel and still don't want to be attacked. So you have to factor in a lot of things in here. And if you actually take the time to listen to some experts on Iran, including like Professor, I think it's Mamadi, his name is, who the University of Tehran is very logical and how he, especially I've seen him interviewed a few times, and others, explain the geopolitical, not our business what goes inside that country. Zero. What is our business is how it affects us, our safety of our citizens, truly our national security, not the agenda of another nation. And that's where I'm afraid. And this could be a splinter towards the MAGA movement. That means, maybe we do have to go. I mean, because they're not doing it on the domestic. These rhinos in New York care more about salt than the budget overall. Still got these warmongering Republicans. Maybe we need to go to the third party. Or finally just take over the rest and push these old neocon fossils, warmongering fossils out, who are clearly see the American citizen as the last priority in anything. All right? So that's basically was the issue. So I'll be on my X following this story tonight because I know the missile's already started. See how that goes. See any involvement comes up. Like I mentioned, that Chinese plane I heard arrived. Well, I don't know what was in it and so forth. How the talks are going. This is also going to hinder talks between Russia and Ukraine. It's all put on the back burner. And you got to pay attention. You can't just look at this because everybody was like, oh, wow, Iran wants to... It wasn't true. They're saying the opposite in the foreign press, okay? So you got to check what's really true. Just because a report comes out on Reuters and everyone starts retweeting it as fact. Maybe that was leaked. Maybe that's what somebody hoped, or somebody got it wrong, or that source that person used got it wrong, okay? But when you're hearing the other side, the complete opposite, you got to go, hey, what's the deal here? So anyway, I'll be following that story, whatever. And people are also forgetting about the Ukraine war. All of a sudden, that's not happening. So I just want to show one little image here. This little territory in red was taken. This is in the northern Donetsk, southern Donetsk, but it's like a banana-shaped province, right? Southern, northern Donetsk. So this is the far western part. But you see that bold line, that blue line across to the northwest part of the screen? That's Dnipropetrovsk. That is the next oblast over from Donetsk. So the significance of that is that they're already pretty much just mopping up in Donetsk. In northern Donetsk, they have Lyman, where they're getting closer to, and Slavyansk, I believe, are the last two big ones. They're close to taking Pokrovsk and southern Pokrovsk. But in the far west, they're already entering the new oblast. And the Russian forces are continuing to grind and take more and more territory every day in the Sumy region, in the Sumy offensive in the north. Okay? That's north of Luhansk, which is north of Donetsk. So they're pushing on every front. And now we're distracted with this war. So can't forget about what's going on in other aspects of, the world. And remember how interlinked it is and how this geopolitical game plays. And we cannot be sucked into it again. So that's my video update for today. I'll do another one by the end of the week. It was hard. I was trying to get a lot of research on Ukraine just from the last 3 days. Everybody, even the Ukraine and Russia mappers and Telegram channels and other sources I follow were really out there. They're not putting out the details they normally did because they're focusing on what was happening in the United States this weekend and ICE raids and the Israeli Iranian conflict. So I'll be on X tonight retweeting any videos or anything that's major that develops. Doing that. Also, there was a big win for SCOTUS, for Trump, for SCOTUS. It was 9-0 win on, I believe it was immigration and, it was religious liberty, that states cannot, it was the Catholic nun case, that they can't be forced to provide abortions, which is the right decision because it is... Congress shall pass a law not respecting the religion nor prohibiting the free practice thereof. The Bill of Rights are rights that are guaranteed that states or the federal or local government cannot take. They're innate. They come from God, our Creator. And that's why they were enshrined, because you can't do that. It is the other functions of government that we're doing. So here's a case where they're trying to infringe on a guaranteed right and just create other rights in another avenue. But I'm glad it was 9-0. The fact that it even had to go to that point is insane, especially a religious institution. It wasn't even like, a random doctor. It was like a Catholic charity. But that was a good move. And you got other judges still putting out stupid judges. They all seem to be from Massachusetts, too. The one today on with NIH funds, like ridiculous. Unless Congress specifically says, 1 million to ABC group, okay, which usually they don't do. They give it to the NIH, and then they can disperse certain amounts as they like. Well, that's an executive order, executive branch function. So the president should be able to say yes and no to that. I want the funds to go here. I don't want the funds to go there. Don't send the funds anywhere, all right? Because unless the Congress president signs into law that specific dollar amount to that specific thing, and it becomes law, then the president has full discretion as the head of the executive branch. So anyway, went off on that last part. But anyway, hope you have a good night. Like I said, follow me at X, at PatriotPlanner1, at PatriotPlanner1, Getter, at PatriotPlanner, and please like, follow, and share this video. Really appreciate it, and have a great night. Bye-bye.